he was an upper class English person, and his mother became a Christian, who was a vicar's daughter, became a Christian Scientist, because it was the social, it was the high upper class alternative was to become a Christian Scientist. And he and I and you've taught me quite a bit indirectly about what Christian Science is, by the way. But
I know almost nothing about it. So
no, but anyway, so he said that you just went to Sunday school, and you went to a Christian Scientist practitioner rather than going to a doctor, and life continued. And he went to Eton, famous English school, and he was very successful, and he loved sports, and he was going to go to Cambridge, and he was the main person playing squash, and he was in some big competition out there, and he couldn't play because he had a knee injury. And his mother said, "Oh, phone up this man called John Dawley." And he had a 20-minute phone conversation and never had a knee problem again in his life.
Wow.
So as a 19-year-old, and this was just around the outbreak of the Second World War, this caught his attention. And so he became one of this man's students. And John Dawley was an Englishman who at one point was the head of the Christian Science organization sometime between the two wars. And then he came back to England, and he carried on studying and deepening his understanding. And the thing, I know very little about Christian Science, but the idea of Christian Science was that there was a science to Jesus's healing. And you understood the science, the process, then you could do the healings. And at one point, Christian Science did lots of healings, and those have all disappeared now. But that's another story.
That's fascinating. I know nothing about Christian Science, so this is interesting. Keep going.
And so anyway, John Dawley was tried by post for heresy, for going beyond the founder's teachings. And he was found guilty, and his students, including my dad, were circulating and said, "It's not your fault, your teacher has gone off the rails. You can remain and remember, but you must not have anything more to do with this man." And Dad said, "How could you possibly not engage with someone who was showing you deeper and deeper truths in the Bible and was doing extraordinary healings at the same time?" So he found himself, that group found themselves excommunicated. And I think my dad was this man's favorite student. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, at some point, Dad found my mum, who was also one of the students, and he decided it was not time for him to go off and study the Bible and sort of go back to basics for himself. Mm-hmm. And then my mum tried to have a child and lost the first baby with spina bifida. And then I was and she said, apparently, David, my husband, gives me everything, and I can't even give him a child. And so I think I might have spent 9 months in a state of high anxiety before I was born. So that was my beginning. And but Dad didn't. I suppose he believed, and I have a younger brother who I would say after a year and a half, my life was ruined. Year and a half was great, and then things got wrong. And my mum had postnatal depression and stuff. But he didn't force his Christian Science or he ended up just calling himself a student of the Bible. I think he felt that we should find our own way. And so you go to school, and there was bits of chapel, and then when I went to Eton, you would go to church or chapel every day, and beautiful stained glass windows, and the beautiful teachings of Jesus. And then the rest of the time you were living in a sort of tyranny with the older boys, having a very harsh regime on the younger boys. You look down on the servants, you look down on the people in the village. The Etonists will spread through. So it was just a complete sort of contradiction of, so by the time I was sort of 16, I had become very cynical and sort of nihilistic and didn't believe in God, didn't believe in any of that stuff. And of course, at 16 and 17, you know everything, and it's so obvious.